My stepmom blamed me for stealing, and my dad kicked me out with no proof. I ended up homeless while she took over the house, but I knew who was lying, and they had no idea what I would do next. I didn't see it coming. Honestly, I wish I had. Maybe then I could have done something before it all went sideways. But hindsight's a cruel kind of clarity. My name's Tyler. I'm 19. And this is the story of how I went from being my dad's pride and joy to being kicked out into the night with nothing but a backpack and a broken heart, all thanks to the woman who showed up smiling with banana bread and ended up stealing more than just our money. Before all this mess started, things at home weren't perfect, but they made sense. My mom passed away when I was 13, breast cancer. It hit hard, obviously, but Dad and I, we stuck together. We were this little team. He worked a lot construction supervisor, long hours, early mornings. But every Sunday morning, without fail, he made pancakes from scratch. Said it was Mom's recipe. Even though I was pretty sure he added way too much cinnamon, still it became our thing, just us laughing over burnt pancakes, arguing about whether to put blueberries in them. That kind of stuff sticks with you. After a few years, things settled. I got a part-time job at a local car wash, started saving for a used truck, made decent grades, nothing crazy. Dad would occasionally go on dates, but nothing ever stuck. And then when I was about to graduate high school, he met her. Lisa, the woman who would eventually turn our lives upside down. Lisa was charming. I'll give her that. She had this practiced warmth like she'd been rehearsing for the role of perfect girlfriend her whole life. She laughed at all of Dad's jokes, complimented the house, even brought over food the first time she came for dinner. I remember it clear as day. Chicken pot pie salad with homemade dressing and banana bread. Dad was hooked. Me, not so much. Something about her felt performative, like she was trying too hard to be seen as harmless. And when I offered to help her carry the dishes back to her car, she smiled and said, "Oh, that's sweet of you, Tyler. Your dad said you were the helpful type." That comment shouldn't have stuck with me, but it did because I never told her that. Dad must have. And that meant they'd been talking more than he let on. Things moved fast after that. She was suddenly everywhere, dropping off lunch at his worksite, helping him organize the garage, aka throwing out stuff I'd helped him build, and staying over more nights than not. Within 3 months, she had a toothbrush in our bathroom and a drawer in his bedroom. I tried to stay out of the way, not in a sulking, dramatic teenager kind of way, just cautiously distant. I didn't dislike her yet, but she wasn't my mom, and something in my gut told me she knew that and liked it that way. Then she moved in. It wasn't some big announcement. Just one day I came home from my shift and saw her car in the driveway. The next, there were 2 suitcases by the stairs. Dad didn't even sit me down to talk about it. He just casually mentioned over dinner, "Lisa is going to stay here full-time now. We've been talking about it, and it just makes sense." I nodded, chewed my food, and kept my mouth shut. But inside, something twisted. He said, "We've been talking." Not once had he included me in that decision. It wasn't my house, sure, but I'd grown up there, lived there longer than Lisa even knew our last name. It felt like I was being sidelined in my own home. Things started shifting after that, slowly, at first subtle stuff. My toothpaste was gone from the upstairs bathroom, replaced with some organic mint-free whitening paste that tasted like chalk. My cereal replaced with granola and almond milk. The living room TV, which Dad and I used to binge old action movies on, was suddenly always stuck on HGTV or reality shows about flipping houses. Lisa would smile and say, "Oh, Tyler, you've got to expand your tastes," but it didn't feel like expanding, it felt like erasing. Then there was the laundry. I'd always done my own ever since I was 15. It wasn't a big deal. But one day I came home and my clothes were folded badly and stacked on my bed. Half of them were shrunken or wrinkled beyond saving. When I asked Lisa not to touch them, she looked offended. "I was just trying to help," she said with a pout. "Some gratitude would be nice." Dad took her side, of course. "She's just trying to make this place feel like home," he said. "Maybe loosen up a little." I tried for Dad. I really did. I told myself it was temporary, that eventually the novelty would wear off and things would settle back to some kind of normal. But Lisa wasn't settling. She was taking root digging and rearranging furniture, repainting rooms, suggesting I maybe think about getting a place of my own now that I was an adult. That one stung. Dad brushed it off like a joke, but her tone was serious. I knew it. Then the money started disappearing. Not a lot at first, just small things. A $20 bill I'd tucked into my wallet went missing. A gift card to a burger joint I was saving vanished from my drawer. I thought I was being forgetful or careless. Maybe I dropped it. Maybe it slipped behind the dresser. But then I overheard a phone call. Lisa in the kitchen whispering urgently about being a little short this month and promising to figure something out. When I stepped in, she hung up so fast it made my head spin. Still, I said nothing because what could I say? I had no proof, just a gut feeling and a growing sense of dread. Things escalated during spring break. I had a few days off and picked up extra shifts at the car wash. I was saving up for a laptop, nothing fancy, just something decent for college. I'd been stashing the cash in an envelope hidden inside a copy of Dune on my bookshelf. Not exactly Fort Knox, but I figured it was safe enough. I hadn't told anyone about it. One afternoon I got home, went upstairs to count my stash, and it was gone. All of it. Every single bill. I stared at the empty envelope, heart pounding, throat dry. I checked the book again, ripped apart my room. Nothing. I didn't cry. I was too angry, too stunned. My hands shook as I sat on the edge of my bed and just stared at the wall. I waited for Dad to get home, told him everything, the money, the envelope, how I'd been saving for weeks. He listened quietly, then glanced toward the kitchen where Lisa was chopping vegetables. She looked over her shoulder and smiled like nothing had happened. "Are you sure you didn't misplace it?" he asked. "You've been busy. Could have dropped it." "I didn't," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I hid it in a book. It's gone." He sighed, rubbed his temples. "I'll ask around," he said. "But don't jump to conclusions. Okay? Let's not start pointing fingers." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just nodded and went back upstairs, fists clenched. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something was breaking in me, something fragile and important. The trust I had in my dad, the belief that I was safe in my own home. It was unraveling thread by thread. 2 days later, I came home from work and saw Dad waiting at the door, arms crossed. His face was tight, unreadable. "Can we talk?" he asked. I stepped inside. Lisa was sitting on the couch, arms folded, lips twitching like she was trying to hide a smirk. "I found out where the money went," Dad said. "And I'm disappointed, Tyler. I thought I raised you better." My stomach dropped. "What are you talking about?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled receipt. $300 withdrawal from my emergency fund. The account you knew about, the one I told you was off limits. I didn't touch that account. I said, heart hammering, "I swear to you." Lisa stood up, arms crossed. "Your name's on the withdrawal slip, Tyler." I shook my head. "No, that's impossible. I know it was you." Dad's voice exploded, and I actually flinched. "I don't know what's going on with you lately, but this is too far. Lying to me, stealing from me. Get out of my house." Behind him, Lisa smiled, just for a second, a subtle victorious curl of the lips. But I saw it. I grabbed my backpack, didn't pack anything else. What was the point? As I stepped into the night, the front door slammed shut behind me. And for the first time, I wasn't sad. I was furious, and I was going to make sure she regretted every second of thinking she could ruin my life. But first, I had to figure out how. I didn't sleep that first night. Not really, because I had nowhere to go, though I didn't. But more because my mind wouldn't stop replaying the moment, the look on Dad's face, the way his voice cracked when he shouted, and Lisa just standing there behind him like some twisted puppet master watching it all happen with that smug little half smile. It was a cold night, late March, still chilly enough that my hoodie wasn't doing much good. I ended up walking to a friend's place, Kyle, from work. We weren't close, not really, but he'd always been cool to me. I crashed on his couch after mumbling some excuse about family stuff. He didn't press. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. It wasn't just exhaustion, it was the weight of everything crashing down, my home gone, my dad turned on me, my savings stolen, and I couldn't even prove any of it. I checked my phone, nothing from Dad, not a missed call, not a text, not even a "where are you?" I should have been numb by then, but instead I felt something shifting inside me, like anger was starting to boil up through the cracks that grief had left behind. It wasn't rage, not yet, more like a slow, seething resentment and a question I couldn't shake. Why didn't he believe me? The following weeks blurred together. I bounced between Kyle's place and another friend, Nate, whenever Kyle's mom said I couldn't stay another night. I still went to work, still smiled at customers, but inside, I was unraveling, not just because of what had happened, but because of what kept happening. Dad didn't reach out at all, but Lisa, she made sure I knew exactly what was going on. It started small. A random Venmo notification popped up on my phone. Lisa had sent me $2 with the caption, "For your honesty." I blocked her immediately. A week later, I bumped into my neighbor, Mr. Daly, while walking home from my shift. He raised an eyebrow and said, "Hey, your stepmom told me you moved out to focus on school. Said things were going great." I laughed in his face, not on purpose. It just came out bitter and sharp like a reflex. Then I muttered something about different stories, I guess, and kept walking. But it didn't stop. One night I saw Lisa had posted on Facebook a picture of my dad's truck in the driveway, new flowers planted by the mailbox. The caption, "Finally making this house a home again." And there he was in the background, Dad smiling, holding a rake, like some backyard hero. Like nothing had happened. Like I never existed. That night was the first time I cried, not a few tears. Ugly, quiet sobbing in the back of Kyle's garage, curled up behind the tool bench so no one would see. I didn't even know what part hurt more, the betrayal, the silence, the fact that I still missed Sunday pancakes like a pathetic kid. But after the breakdown came the shift. It wasn't immediate, but something hardened in me. I stopped checking my phone for messages that weren't coming. I started picking up more shifts. I saved every dollar. If I was going to survive this, I had to become someone else, someone who didn't need anyone, especially not a man who chose lies over his own son. Then came graduation. I wasn't even sure I'd go at first. What was the point? But my guidance counselor, Miss Rayner, practically begged me to walk the stage, said it would be a moment of closure. Closure. Funny word. Still, I borrowed a gown from a senior who dropped out and showed up. The ceremony was long and boring. I didn't hear most of it, but when my name was called and I stepped onto that stage, I scanned the crowd out of habit. And there they were, Dad and Lisa sitting in the second row smiling. I froze for half a second, just long enough for it to register. Lisa had on this huge sun hat like we were at a horse race. Dad wore a shirt I got him for Father's Day 2 years ago. The irony didn't even feel poetic, just sad. After the ceremony, I dipped out the back, didn't want the awkward hugs or fake congratulations, but as I was walking away, I heard footsteps behind me. Tyler. Dad's voice. I turned slowly. He looked older than I remembered, tired like life had hit him in the face but forgot to tell him why. Lisa stood a few feet back pretending not to listen while obviously listening. "I'm proud of you," he said. That broke me a little because even after everything, part of me still wanted to hear those words. "Thanks," I said. My voice came out flat. He hesitated, then asked, "Where are you staying these days?" I shrugged. "You could have come home, you know," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "You just had to apologize. That was it, the moment everything snapped." "Apologize," I repeated. "For what? For being stolen from? For being lied about? For being kicked out of my house without proof?" His face tightened. Lisa said, "Yeah." I cut in. "She says a lot of things, doesn't she? Like how she's just trying to help. Like how she doesn't touch other people's stuff. Like how I stole from your emergency fund even though I've never even seen your checkbook." He blinked. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. "Tell me, Dad, did you ever actually check the handwriting on that withdrawal slip? Did you even go to the bank and ask, or did you just take her word for it?" Silence. "Thought so." I turned to walk away, heart pounding so hard it shook my ribs. That night, I made a decision. I didn't want an apology. I didn't even want the money back. I wanted the truth. I wanted him to see her for who she really was, and I wanted her to pay for what she'd done. That's when I started watching Listening Gathering. Lisa had a habit of oversharing on social media. Little braggy captions, oddly specific hashtags, selfies that revealed more than she realized. She posted a photo of a new handbag price tag still attached in the background. In the corner of the mirror, I saw a reflection, a document on the desk behind her, a check with Dad's name on it and her handwriting. Interesting. Then she posted about a girl's day out with someone named Angie. I looked up Angie. Public profile hairstylist salon photos tagged at a place called Lux Studio. Comments like, "Thanks for the champagne, Lisa," and "Can't believe he let you use that card." So he let her. Huh. I kept digging. I made a new fake profile, something generic. A guy named Brent with a golden retriever and a love of hiking. Within a week, Lisa accepted the friend request. I started messaging her. Harmless stuff at first. "You look amazing. Wish my girl dressed like that. That's his truck. Dang lucky guy." She ate it up. One night, after a couple weeks of back and forth, she sent a picture. Nothing scandalous, just her in a bathrobe holding a glass of wine. Caption, "Home alone again." She thought she was being sly. She wasn't, because in the background of that photo, I saw it again. Dad's checkbook, open, a pin beside it, and a sticky note that read, "Deposit before Monday." I screenshotted everything. Over the next month, I built a digital folder. Bank records she left lying around, screenshots of posts, comments, DMs, even a video Nate helped me record when we accidentally bumped into her at a bar one night and overheard her complaining to her friend about how easy it was to get what she wanted once she softened up the old man. The final straw came from an unlikely source, my little cousin Ellie. She was 12, sweet kid. We ran into each other at a family cookout on my mom's side. She said, "Hey, are you still grounded? Lisa told my mom you were in juvie for stealing stuff." I swear, my vision went white. Not only was Lisa manipulating Dad, she was rewriting the entire story for everyone else, making me out to be some petty criminal while she played Stepford wife. That night, I went home not to stay, just to see. Dad wasn't there. Lisa was. She opened the door and blinked in surprise. "Tyler. Wow. Look who finally decided to come crawling back." I didn't say a word, just stared at her. She laughed. "You want forgiveness? You better work harder than that." I tilted my head. "Forgiveness? No. I just wanted to see what a liar looks like when she's not filtered." That smile faltered just slightly, but it was enough. I turned and walked away, feeling the weight of 1,000 cracks finally give way to something solid. The plan was in motion, and Lisa, she wasn't ready for what came next. I didn't sleep much after that night either, but this time, it wasn't out of grief or confusion. It was planning the kind of sleeplessness that comes when your mind finally stops asking why me and starts asking what now. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was focused, sharpened. Lisa had torn apart my life and made a mockery of everything I'd built with my dad. And for a while, I'd let her win. But not anymore. The truth was, I'd already hit rock bottom. I'd been couch hopping for months, showering at the gym, eating canned beans and dollar menu burgers. I'd learned how to stretch $5 into 3 meals, how to pretend I wasn't cold when I didn't have a coat, how to smile when people asked, "So how's your family?" Like it was just small talk. You learn a lot about yourself when you have nothing, when you're nobody, when the people who were supposed to protect you slam the door and accuse you of being a thief. But rock bottom has one perk. It's solid. You can build on it. And that's exactly what I did. It started with a job offer. Kyle's uncle owned a mobile mechanic business, one of those trucks that drives to your car when it breaks down, and he needed someone to do grunt work, clean tools, organize parts, pick up lunch, that kind of thing. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid more than the car wash, and I could do it after hours and on weekends. I said yes before he finished asking. For the first time in months, I had steady income. Then Nate's brother moved out of his apartment and offered me a room. The rent was rough but manageable. It was a dingy two-bedroom with cracked tiles and a fridge that hummed like it was possessed, but it was mine. I bought a used mattress off Craigslist and carried it up the stairs myself. That night, lying on the bare floor with nothing but a pillow and the hum of the fridge for company, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. I kept working every day, long hours, double shifts, pouring everything I had into rebuilding. I didn't party, I didn't waste money. I got used to being alone, to walking to the corner laundromat and reading car manuals while my clothes tumbled. I stopped checking social media, I unfollowed Dad, blocked Lisa, deleted Facebook altogether. I didn't want to see their smiling faces pretending everything was perfect. I didn't need that poison anymore. And slowly things got better. I started doing small repairs on the side. Word got around that I was good with brakes and oil changes and didn't overcharge like some shops. People paid cash. I saved every penny. I learned more about engines, about timing belts, about how to rebuild a carburetor. I watched YouTube videos at night and practiced on junk parts during the day. Every dollar I saved felt like a brick in a wall I was building between me and the past. After about 8 months, I bought my first truck, a beat-up 2004 Ford Ranger with a rusted bumper and a cracked windshield. But the engine purred like a cat after I spent 2 weeks fixing it. I named her Grace. Don't ask me why. She just felt like a Grace. The truck changed everything. Suddenly, I wasn't limited to where I could walk or catch a bus. I could take jobs farther out, help people stranded on the highway, haul parts, move furniture. It made me feel capable again, independent, like maybe I wasn't just some angry kid kicked out by his dad. Maybe I was something more. One night, while working on a client's car, the guy asked how I learned so much. Trial and error, I said, tightening a bolt in YouTube. He laughed. You ever think about opening your own shop? I shrugged. Someday, maybe. He looked me dead in the eye. You've got the hands for it. Real work hands. But more than that, you've got the look of someone who's got something to prove. That stuck with me. From that day on, I started treating every job like it was my business. I showed up early, brought my own tools, left things cleaner than I found them. People noticed. Word of mouth grew. Tips got bigger. Repeat customers became regulars. I even got a basic Wix website up with the help of Nate's girlfriend. It was nothing fancy, but it gave me a name. Tyler's On-Site Auto Repair. Not the flashiest, but it was mine. While the business slowly gained traction, something else started to change. Me. I didn't see it at first, but others did. Kyle told me I didn't flinch anymore when people mentioned home. Miss Rayner from high school emailed me a scholarship form for trade school and said, "You're not who you were last year. You're stronger now, more grounded." And I felt it too. I wasn't the same kid who begged his dad to believe him. I didn't need him to anymore. But that didn't mean I forgot. See, while I was rebuilding my life, I never let go of what Lisa did. I never let go of the screenshots, the voice messages, the paper trail I'd quietly assembled. Every few weeks, I'd update the folder. I called it Lies and Receipts. It lived on a flash drive I kept in a small lockbox beneath the passenger seat of Grace, just in case. Then came the reunion. It was a barbecue hosted by my mom's side of the family. I hadn't seen most of them in over a year. After everything with Dad, I'd kind of fallen off the grid. But Aunt Camille called one day and said, "Ty, it's time. You don't have to say anything. Just come eat ribs and let people hug you." I said yes. When I showed up, people stared, not in a bad way, just surprised. I'd put on some muscle since working with tools every day. I wasn't lanky anymore. My hair was longer, my posture straighter. Ellie ran up to me and said, "You look like a grown-up now." I laughed and mussed her hair. The day was perfect, sunny, warm, good food, loud laughter. For a while, I forgot the bitterness. I forgot Lisa. I forgot the pain. I just felt human. But that didn't last long because just as I was biting into a corn cob, I heard someone say, "Oh, wow, Tyler's here." I turned and there they were, Dad and Lisa. He looked older than before, grayer. He'd lost weight too, but not the good kind. Stress clung to his face like a second skin. Lisa, on the other hand, looked as radiant as ever. Red dress designer sunglasses, perfectly curled hair like she was auditioning for some real estate reality show. We made eye contact. She smiled, not the soft kind smile she used on everyone else, the "I know you know, but you can't prove anything" smile, the "I'm still here and you're still out in the cold" smile. But this time, I didn't look away. Later, I overheard her talking to my uncle something about renovating Dad's kitchen, how he finally agreed to let her handle the finances, and how it was a miracle things turned around after such a rough patch with Tyler. I didn't interrupt. Not yet. I just sat under the patio umbrella and let the words wash over me like gasoline because I knew the spark was coming. A few weeks after the reunion, I got a message from my bank, one of those routine fraud alerts. Someone had tried to open a credit card in my name. I froze. I never gave anyone access to my info, never applied for a card, never even gave out my social security number except at work. I called the bank, answered all the security questions, asked where the request came from. The rep was polite. "It looks like it was done online, sir. We flagged it because the address associated with the application didn't match your file." "What address was listed?" A pause. Then she read it aloud. "My old home address. Dad's house. Lisa's house." I sat there in silence, phone pressed to my ear, as the puzzle pieces rearranged themselves into something bigger, something darker. This wasn't just about stealing from me once. This was about erasing me, replacing me, hijacking my identity. That night, I opened the Lies and Receipts folder. I stared at it for a long time. And then, I made a copy. The storm was coming, and this time, I wasn't going to run from it. I was going to walk straight into the eye, and I wasn't leaving until the truth ripped through everything they built on my back. You ever feel a switch flip inside you, like something that had always been holding you back, some last sliver of doubt or fear just burns out, and suddenly, you see everything clearly? That's what happened the moment I heard my old address come out of the bank rep's mouth. Not because I was surprised Lisa would stoop that low. At this point, I'd come to expect snakes to slither, but because she'd made a mistake, a big one. She stopped being subtle. She got comfortable. And when people like Lisa get comfortable, they stop covering their tracks. And that was her first real misstep. The second she underestimated how much I'd grown since the day I walked out of that house. I spent the next few hours combing through every piece of documentation I had. Not just the screenshots and DMs, but the bank statements. I'd saved the photos from her Instagram, with dates visible, the audio Nate helped me record at the bar. Everything. I organized it all, built a timeline, matched each suspicious withdrawal with corresponding receipts, purchases, or gifts Lisa flaunted online. It was painstaking but weirdly satisfying, like tightening bolts on an engine. Each detail locked into place with a satisfying click. Once I was done, I loaded it all into a clean Google Drive folder and locked it behind two-factor authentication. I wasn't about to risk losing this. This was the setup, and I wasn't rushing it. I wasn't the angry kid anymore. I wasn't going to storm into Dad's house and throw the laptop on the table screaming, "See, I told you." I'd already been there, already lived that scene, and I knew how it ended. He wouldn't hear me, not if it came from me. But if it came from someone he trusted, that was a different story. So I started thinking, who did Dad still listen to? That list was short. His older brother, Uncle Ron, stood out immediately. He and Dad had always been close, grew up fixing cars together, served in the Navy around the same time. Ron was old school, suspicious of drama, allergic to gossip, but deadly serious when it came to loyalty and respect. He always had this way of making Dad feel like a little kid again, but in a good way, like someone you didn't want to disappoint. And best of all, Ron never liked Lisa, not from day one. I hadn't spoken to him in over a year, but I took a chance and called. He picked up on the third ring. "Tyler." That caught me off guard. "Yeah. How'd you know?" "You're the only kid I know who still calls instead of texting," he grumbled. "What's going on?" I hesitated, then said, "You got time for lunch?" We met at a diner near his workshop. He looked a little grayer than I remembered, but his handshake still crushed mine like a vice. We sat down, ordered coffee, and I told him everything, not all at once, not dramatically, just the facts. The money I saved that went missing. The withdrawal slip. The sudden accusations. The texts. The screenshots. The fake credit card application. Ron didn't say much at first, just sipped his coffee and listened with those eyes that never blinked when something important was being said. By the time I finished, he exhaled slowly and said, "Well, I'll be damned." I nodded. "I didn't come here to make you pick sides or to rant. I need help because I've got proof. And if I walk into Dad's house with it, he's not going to see the truth. He's going to see betrayal." Ron leaned back in the booth, hands folded across his chest. "She's playing the long game, huh? She's already rewriting the past." He was quiet for a while, then said, "Let me see the proof." I handed him my old tablet with the folder open. He didn't say a word as he scrolled through the files, just the occasional grunt or narrowed eyes. When he got to the bank statement matched with a photo of Lisa holding a designer bag with the exact withdrawal amount visible in the reflection behind her, he let out a low whistle. "She really thought no one would notice the checkbook behind her," he muttered. "She thinks everyone's too dumb or too in love to look." He looked up. "Your dad's not dumb, just blind and maybe a little broken. After your mom passed, something in him cracked. Lisa didn't cause that, but she slithered right into the gap." I swallowed. "So what do we do?" Ron set the tablet down and leaned in. "We don't tell him. Not yet. First we set a trap." And that was the moment everything clicked into place. The trap was simple, classic, not even flashy, just smart. Ron offered to help Dad with some financial reorganization, a checkup of sorts, under the pretense of helping him prepare for possible retirement. Dad had been talking about slowing down anyway, and Ron played it perfectly, said he'd hired a financial advisor who could help streamline everything, bank accounts, investments, spending patterns. Dad took the bait. Lisa, from what Ron told me later, looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. The advisor, Nate's cousin Maya, she'd just passed her CPA exams and owed me a favor after I helped fix her car for free. I gave her the full folder, plus everything I had on the recent fraud attempt. She'd never met Dad before, which was perfect. He had no emotional guard up with her. She was just the money lady. Meanwhile, I kept working, kept my head down. I didn't even tell Nate or Kyle what was happening. This was a two-man job, me and Uncle Ron, one person inside, one person watching from the outside. Lisa didn't know it yet, but the walls were closing in. 2 weeks into the financial review, Ron called me. "She's sweating," he said. "How do you know?" "She tried to convince your dad to cancel next week's meeting, said something about privacy and feeling exposed. You should have seen the look on his face." "Did he agree?" "Nope. He told her he wanted to understand everything better, which means the seed is planted. The doubt is there." I smiled. "You think he's finally waking up, son? I think the fog's lifting, but you better be ready when he sees the sunlight." I didn't expect to hear from Dad before the hammer dropped, but I did. He called me one afternoon while I was working on a brake replacement. My phone buzzed, and when I saw his name, my stomach flipped. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hello? Hey, it's me." His voice was quieter than I remembered, less sure. "You got a minute?" "Yeah," I said carefully. "What's up?" I've been going through some things. Financial stuff, with Ron's help, and some things aren't adding up." I stayed silent. I didn't want to believe it, he continued. "But I saw your name tied to a credit card application last month. Only it wasn't your handwriting, and the IP address came from our house." Silence again. Then he said, "I think I made a mistake." I closed my eyes, gripping the wrench in my hand so tight my knuckles turned white. "I need to ask you something," he said. "Yeah." "That night when I kicked you out, were you telling the truth?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. Part of me wanted to scream. Of course I was. Part of me wanted to hang up. But most of me just felt tired. I said. Every word. He didn't speak for a while, then barely audible. "I'm so sorry. I didn't say I forgive you, not yet. That would have been dishonest. But I did say, you believed the wrong person. Now you have to decide what you're going to do with the truth." "I don't know where to start," he said. "I do," I replied, "and you're not going to like it." The final part of the setup was as poetic as it was surgical. Ron invited the whole family over for a cookout. Same backyard, same grill. Lisa naturally showed up late in a new dress and heels, far too fancy for a lawn party. She clung to Dad's arm like a trophy. He didn't smile once. Midway through the gathering, Ron clinked a spoon against his beer bottle. "Hey everyone, just a quick announcement before the burgers finish. My financial advisor has been helping me and my brother sort out some paperwork. Tyler helped too. Turns out there's been a lot of confusion with the books. A lot of funny numbers." Lisa's smile twitched. "We're going to be sitting down next week to go over it together. Tyler's got some notes. Maya's got documentation. Should be enlightening." Lisa's face drained of color. She looked at Dad, but he didn't look back. He was looking at me dead in the eyes. No hate, no shame, just redness. She opened her mouth to say something, some protest, some deflection, but for once, no one was listening, because everyone at that table could feel it. The tide had shifted, and she had no idea how far out it was going to drag her. I wish I could say the revenge was dramatic, screaming tears, people flipping tables like a soap opera finale, but that would be giving Lisa too much credit. The truth, it was quieter, sharper, like watching someone realize too late that they've been standing on a frozen lake and the cracks are already beneath their feet. The day of reckoning came a week after Ron's barbecue. Maya, our financial advisor, had scheduled the final sit-down with my dad and Lisa to review findings. It was all framed as routine professional, no reason for alarm, just a few signatures here, a few clarifications there. I wasn't in the room at first, but Ron filled me in afterward. And Maya, bless her, had the patience of a saint and the precision of a scalpel. It started simple. Maya laid out a binder filled with categorized tabs, spending reports, flagged inconsistencies, check images, IP logins, all legitimate, all traceable. Dad sat stone-faced as Maya walked through the first few tabs. Gift card purchases, luxury items, duplicate payments. Nothing crazy on their own, but together suspicious, especially when stacked against Lisa's income, which was, for lack of a better word, non-existent. Lisa played it cool at first, said things like, "Oh, I must have forgotten that," or "I was going to tell you. I just didn't want to worry you." But her voice shook just slightly. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Then Maya slid the big one across the table, a high-resolution printout of the credit card application submitted in my name with the browser IP traced directly to Dad's home Wi-Fi. She even included screenshots of security camera logs Ron had helped pull from the smart doorbell, confirming Lisa was the only one home during the time of submission. Lisa froze. Dad didn't speak. He just kept staring at the paper, one hand twitching slightly over his knee. That's when Maya said calmly and without emotion, "I'm required by law to report identity theft when it involves federal fraud." Lisa snapped her head toward Dad. "Honey, she's twisting this. You know Tyler's been angry. He probably forged this to frame me. He's vindictive. He always hated me." Maya didn't flinch. She simply opened another folder this time, with timestamps, metadata, and even a backup confirmation email Lisa had unwittingly allowed to autosave on the shared home desktop. Every lie she reached for Maya had already buried. Dad finally spoke. Why? His voice was not angry, not loud, just broken. Lisa's expression cracked. Your son turned you against me, she hissed. He never wanted me in that house. You always made excuses for him, always defended him. I gave up everything to make your life better, and this is how you repay me. You were nothing without me. You needed someone to take care of you. You stole from me, he said quietly. Lisa stood. You let him do this. You let him destroy our family. Dad didn't even look at her. Get out. 2 words. No yelling, no drama, just final. She tried to plead, then threatened, then cried, but it was already over. Ron was waiting outside the room when she came storming out. She looked at him like he might stop her, help her. He didn't move. Lisa packed her things that night. According to Ron, she screamed at the neighbors through a flower pot and called my dad every name she could think of before peeling out of the driveway in the car he'd paid for. But she didn't get far because by the next morning the fraud report was filed. Bank accounts were frozen, credit cards canceled, the car reported as financed solely in Dad's name. She left town a few days later. I heard she tried to stay with a cousin in Arizona, but that didn't last long. Maya followed through on the legal side quietly and efficiently. No arrests, no handcuffs, just a slow legal burn. IRS audits, police reports, flagged transactions, frozen assets. The house of cards she'd built came down one embarrassing phone call at a time. And Dad, he showed up at my garage the day after Lisa left. No call, no warning, just walked in while I was elbow deep in a brake replacement. I wiped my hands and looked up, heart in my throat. He looked exhausted, humbled, but different, like he'd been walking through smoke for a year and finally stepped into daylight. Hey, he said. Hey. Long silence. I don't know how to say I'm sorry in a way that makes up for what I did. You don't, I said. There's not really a way. He nodded. But you can start by telling me what you do want, I added. He swallowed. I want to know you again if that's possible. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was honest. And after everything I could work with, honest. We didn't hug. We're not that kind of family. But he stayed for 3 hours. That day watched me work, asked questions about my business, even handed me tools. It was like our Sunday pancakes, but grown up, real, and earned. Over the next few months, we rebuilt slowly. No rushing, no forced family dinners, just steady check-ins. He started helping me on weekends. We fixed up a couple of old cars together and sold them for a decent profit. He even gave me Mom's old toolkit, said she would have liked what I was doing. That meant more than he probably knew. I never saw Lisa again, but I didn't need to. The fallout did what I never could. It forced Dad to open his eyes, not through screaming or begging or even proving myself, but by letting her bury herself with her own lies. I just handed people a shovel and stepped back. And me. Business is good, better than good, actually. I've got 3 steady clients, a part-time high school kid I'm training, and a waiting list for repairs that stretches into next month. I signed the lease on a bigger space near the highway, slapped a new sign above the garage, Grace & Sons Auto Repair. I know it's cheesy, but I like the sound of it. And yeah, Dad's the son now. We're building something real again. Not what we had before, something better. I think the best revenge is never the scream. It's the silence afterward when the liar's voice is gone and yours is finally heard.